Chapter 23. Family. Sky shivered. It had nothing to do with the chilly night air, and everything to do with her strong emotions. Dylan pulled the plaid blanket up higher on her neck. Sky grabbed his hand back, needing an anchor of reassurance. Worried what she needed to say would make him want to leave her again. She tightened her grasp, and though it made no difference to his strong hand, her own knuckles whitened. Uncertain of his reaction, her anxiety got the best of her. She quietly cleared her throat. Seeing her distress, Dylan turned toward her, laying his other hand on top of hers. Sky looked up at him, gave a sharp chuckle, and rolled her eyes at her inability to start her story. She took a moment to lay her forehead against Dylan's arm, and he patiently waited until she was ready. Finally, she blew out a long breath and began to speak. "I was married before, did I tell you that?" Dylan was calm. "Okay." Sky looked down at the old wooden floor of the porch. It was right out of high school, literally, just 2 weeks after we graduated. We were young and crazy. We were going to be in the same college, and thought we would be together forever. Why wait? Why not start now? Sky's lips turned down. Obviously, forever didn't happen. Dylan didn't make much more than a grunt before he said, "I'm glad, or I wouldn't be sittin' here with you right now." Her eyes flew to his, and she smiled. Sky raised a hand and stroked his stubbled face with her thumb before lowering her hand to his again. "Me too. Because I'm with you, and also because I'm sure I would be dead by now. My ex wasn't all that great of a protector." Sky uttered a small, bitter laugh before she went on. "He wasn't involved in the college incident, but of course it affected him too." Sky hated bringing this up, but it was the beginning of everything. The one and only stipulation my family allowed the college was that I had to leave it, couldn't even step foot on the campus. And since we were married, he had to leave too. Yes, and he had a ton of friends at that college, played ball. He was very involved, and he bitterly resented leaving. I told him to stay, and I meant it. I was the one who had made a mess of everything. But he didn't, he followed me to the next college. After we left, nothing was the same for him, which he rightly blamed on me. Dylan snorted derisively, but Sky didn't agree. "It was my fault, Dylan, without a doubt." About that at least, he was right. Dylan squeezed Sky's hand, letting her know he would have stood beside her, been her rock. Sky nodded and kissed his hand before continuing on. So there he was blaming me for ruining his life. And I felt guilty about everything, as I should have. From her death to seeing my friends go to jail while I got out of everything. Our parents wanted to ignore it ever happened and wouldn't let me talk about it. I was a mess. He was a mess. It was just all. Yeah, I see that. I swore off alcohol and drugs, but now he was always partying. He was seldom home. I rarely left it. He got sick of me, started bringing girlfriends back. And I didn't even really care. Sky shifted in her seat. One day, he came home high, and it turned into this big fight, and he hit me. Not that bad, but that is how low I was. When he hit me, I just let him. Then I walked into the bedroom, pulled the covers over my head, and went to sleep. After that, I started to provoke him, hoping he'd hit me because I hadn't suffered for what I'd done. It wasn't horrible, I wasn't on the floor bleeding, but he and I knew it was wrong, that something vital was broken with us. Dylan put a hand to her chin and tipped Sky's face to his. He ran a finger down her hair, pushing it out of her face. "It's okay, Sky. You don't have to tell me." "I do. I want you to know." "Okay, then." Her throat tightened. It went on that way for a while, but I guess, one day I decided I'd been punished enough. Because, for the first time, I blocked him when he tried to hit me. Unfortunately, that was also a day that he was particularly wasted. He got angry, irate. That day I was on the floor. Dylan's jaw clenched. When he left, I packed up my stuff and moved out. I never looked back. So, with my background, you're worried? Honestly, yes, at first. Odds are, it would be a problem. But now I know you would fight anyone, including yourself, to keep me from harm. Sky shook her head, causing her hair to fall back over her face. No, I learned back then how I could be. I was so overwhelmingly depressed, weighed down with guilt. I made horrible decisions. I haven't trusted myself since. You deserve someone ready for a relationship, and I wanted to make sure that I was. Dylan pushed Sky's hair back and peered at her. You are. You're the most stable person I know. Sky gave a wobbly smile. I don't know about that, but I'm a different person. All that horribleness changed my life. It made me better. That's when I decided I wanted to help people. I changed from a self-absorbed, fashion diva into a responsible, considerate adult. It took a lot of work. You would not have liked that other Sky, not one bit. I would've, Dylan insisted. No, Sky laughed, that first day? I know you now, you would have jumped in your truck and happily left her on the side of the road, instead of giving her a home. He gave her a blank look. What do you mean? You gave us a home, Dylan. He scoffed. I didn't do nothin'. Sky beamed at him. He was so completely unaware of what he'd done. Dylan, it was you who gave me something I didn't think I would ever have again. I was so scared, so unsure of everything. You gave us a home. You were the one who decided to help me with Jesse that day. You brought us here and took care of us, are still teaching us what we need to know. You gave us warmth and comfort in this cold, harsh world. You made us a family.
It shook Dylan. He just did what he thought he should do, what needed done. He hadn't realized what it really meant. That all along, he'd been making the very thing he'd been yearning for, his own family. Dylan looked down at Sky's smiling face with a new understanding of himself. His chest warmed as she said the words he had been waiting for. You have been my salvation, in so many ways. You made this family, Dylan, and you made us. You and me. However far you want to take us is up to you. A slow grin lightened Dylan's face, but his voice became deep and raspy. Let me show you how far I want to take us, darlin'. Dylan released Sky's hands and wrapped his arms around her. He drew her tight, holding her as if he was afraid to ever let go. Dylan's heart felt as if it would burst, but it was somehow a wonderful feeling. Any remaining doubt faded as Sky's answering embrace reassured him that she meant every word she said. Raising a hand to the back of her neck, Dylan pulled away, releasing her enough to peer deep into Sky's green eyes and gauge her reaction to his words. Love is what Dylan saw there, love and acceptance. Everything he had ever wanted. He slowly lowered his lips to hers, savoring every second of the journey. And he thought, finally.